This is the KhoodeelaarTVChannel television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo editions, Baby Angel Geronimo manifesto editions, Baby Angel Geronimo Justice for Baby Angel Geronimo editions. This is Sunday, the 30th of June 2024. Just 3 days to go before the UK general election on Thursday, July 2024. This is the last Sunday before the election, and there is quite widespread speculation that after the disastrous, triumphant rally held by the moron, then leader of the Labour Party, Neil the Crook Kinnock, staged at Sheffield in 1992, which was before the election was held, before a single vote was cast, and it was a triumph based on completely absurd confidence that the election of 1992 had already been won by the Labour Party. Neil Kinnock has never, ever recovered from that and never has explained what motivated his stupidity. He is stupid, but the height of stupidity or the depth of idiocy that he exhibited at Sheffield in 1992 was unprecedented, totally unjustified. Now, the front page of the Sunday Times today, this is the Sunday Times, and the Australian Broadcasting Company is being cited as the source for this item, headed Deputy Prime Minister's grave concerns that Russians are boosting Farage's deform. I obviously have edited the heading. Farage's deform is the right word for the name. It's not reform, it's deform. And it is quite clear that Nasty Nigel Farage is being aided and abetted by elements unleashed to support the propaganda for the regime fronted by Vladimir Putin. That is the fourth disastrous item showing Nasty Nigel Farage as the irresponsible traitor to the cause of Britain. I don't speak for anything to do with the British establishment, but it is simply on the objective evidence that I am making the point that I am making about Nasty Nigel Farage. Dodgy Farage, how can he be chosen allegedly by a majority of voters that have turned apparently from supporting the Conservatives? What is the evidence that he represents anything? In not one, but seven general elections in the United Kingdom, Nasty Nigel Farage stood as a potential member of parliament And one after the other, seven general elections, Nasty Nigel Farage failed to get elected. And there is this piece, one of dozens of pieces in the mainstream Fleet Street newspapers, focusing, as they say, on the irresponsibility of Keir Starmer. This heading says, "This world is now so dangerous, yet Starmer is hopelessly naive." Now, this is apparently a quote from sleazeball David Cameron. It says, David Cameron says, the last thing Britain needs when it is under threat from Russia and China is a lefty liberal lawyer in charge. And he tells Tim Shipman, the Labour leader is also not being straight about tax. Now, first of all, Keir Starmer is not a lefty. The word lefty is an insulting term anyway. He's not a socialist, and he most certainly is not a liberal, and he most certainly is not an honest, competent lawyer. And there are 25 election night moments not to miss. That's a spread on page 7 of the Sunday Times, showing these figures that they are speculating might collapse as candidates. There is Hunt, well, there is Corbyn, there is Rees-Mogg, there is Nasty Nigel Farage, and there is Rishi Sunak, and Liz Truss. Priti Patel, and Penny Mordaunt. And they're saying about most of them, I mean, I'm not seeing anything about Farage. What are they saying about Farage? Let's see what they're saying about Farage. Okay, so they're saying about Farage that this constituency is contesting, Clacton, is among the places to watch. So they're not saying he's going to lose. The Conservative majority currently is 24,702, and they're saying that the predicted outcome is a deform winning. And it says, recent polls suggest Farage, standing to become an MP for an 8th time, could secure victory on the back of one of the biggest swings in modern history. Well, what is the basis of the swing? This will become quite clear after the election, of course. Glastonbury coverage is featuring Cyndi Lauper, who is the source of the heading, Girls Just Wanna Have Equal Rights. Cyndi Lauper tells Glastonbury. And it has got a heading about foreign tourists should pay £20 for British Museum, that is to enter the British Museum. and see the British Museum. British Museum containing some of the most widely identified stolen goods from the empire, Africa and Asia. So they are going to charge descendants of the owners of the stolen items for the privilege of having a sight at what the items stolen from their ancestors look like. It's dangerous here. Thanks for helping us. Missing Jay, that is Jay Slater in Tenerife. Missing Jay's family tells volunteers. And there is a piece by Rod Liddell, and it is accompanied by Vladimir Putin, pictured holding, is it a dog? It's a pet, and there is a three-word phrase. The dog is called Nigel. It's a poodle, and it's called Nigel. So Rod Liddell says, so voters aren't bothered about trans issues, that is, transgender issues. Now, the reference to trans in Britain is a reference to man changing, apparently, gender and becoming women. And that is the most disputed issue. Most of the women, including most of the lesbian women, don't agree that these men who claim to be changing the gender are actually changing the gender. It's like a kind of very crafty way of getting into inappropriate access where women alone, biologically definable and defined women alone should have the space, not interfered with by men posing as women. And there is a African woman, clearly very African, looking at a mixed race child, which looks like mixed race with light skin. And the heading to that piece is a full page piece. Says, my girl is the child of a British soldier, but he's deserted us. Well, British soldiers have not only deserted, but they have been raping African women, Asian women, and women in the other parts of the world. So there is a piece, it's an image on World News on page 14. Let's see, 14 of the Sunday Times. So image is welcome to the CNN. Well, welcome to the gaslighting Olympics. And this is a piece by Camilla Long. She's obviously gone to America. Our columnist witnessed President's meltdown and the pandemonium that followed. She says that desperate quality of the debate was the culmination of a decade-long orgy of briefing, lying, and misdirection. Well, this could apply to any politician in America, and most certainly it could apply and does apply to Donald Trump. And there is a piece by Gerald F. Seib, S-E-I-B, and the piece is headed, "The Democrats have three paths out of this nightmare. None of them easy." What they're saying is that after the apparent collapse in the debate, Joe Biden is no longer fit to remain the candidate for the Democrats at the election in November. And there is a piece about Iran. Sorry, there is a piece about Afghanistan, not Iran. And it is headed, "Warlord trained at Sandhurst tells the West, I can help you topple Taliban." And the caption to a picture, apparently, of him, that is Ahmed Massoud, reads, "Ahmed Massoud has a degree from King's College London." Now, what is that supposed to mean? What is a degree from any British institution supposed to represent? So there are three possible replacements for Biden. One is Kamala Harris, and the other is Newsom, and the last one is Gretchen Whitmer. And on the French election on page 17, the Sunday Times says, "Rebirth of the French right." That's under news review. And there is this piece, "Cocaine is done openly in bars and offered in the street, Miami? No, Shrewsbury, that is England." And there is yet another picture of the plastic Taylor Swift. The rock star Dave Grohl has criticized Taylor Swift's use of backing tracks, but Roisin Kelly says they may be a crucial part of the modern mega gig. And the big debate is about, are we moving too fast to net zero? Each week until polling day, two leading figures go head to head on the issues shaping Britain. This week, Dominic Lawson and Dale Vince discuss Labour's 2030 green goal. And Dominic Lawson has got his usual column on the Sunday Times. It's Labour that has the real gambling problem. And Hedley Freeman, the Zionist who defected from the Guardian, has got a piece for 1 weekend a year. I can revel in silliness. And Mehta Said, the mental slave, the son of a Pakistani father and a white mother, has got the column prominently displayed. It's on page 21 of the Sunday Times. Says to survive, nations must make tough choices. Voters don't want to hear this. This is what we tell our children, isn't it? Work hard, practice. And the Sunday Times main editorial, the only one, on page 20, says the Tories have forfeited the right to govern over to Labour. So they're quite clearly taking the line. The Tories have gone. And there are letters, the main letters under the main heading, Silent Starmer, an autocrat in waiting. Well, that's significant heading. An autocrat in waiting. I don't think he's waiting. He's already an autocrat. He has been an autocrat all the time. And this Kate McCann piece, which is there because Camilla Long has been in the USA, says, at last I have caught the real Starmer unawares. And her main piece is, John Major swept to victory in 1992 after rediscovering the soapbox. Just saying, guys. So what she's saying is that it's still possible. It's an advertisement featuring a lion trust, courage, power and pride. Now, what are they saying? From AI to VR, Lion Trust Global Technology Fund. But are they bothered about saving lions and tigers and others? Now again, there is nothing. I've read all these main headings. There is nothing in the Sunday Times, which is the still main Sunday newspaper from Free Street. There is nothing about what day-to-day experience of individual people, including those who are on the voters register and those prevented from voters register, actually experience in their contacts with the local state, the regional states, and of course the central state, parliament, members of parliament. One of the things that the House of Commons Information Office has told me repeatedly is that members of parliament are not obliged to acknowledge communications they receive from the members of the constituency or any member of the public. Now, one of the cases that I solved was a case that was left in the shelves by Stephen Timms, the MP for many years for East Ham constituency, and before that he was the leader of the Newham Council. And the case concerned the nephew of a Sikh woman, Sikh, Hardeep Singh Kaur, who adopted her nephew, who entered the United Kingdom illegally and therefore was not registered as a person, but effectively within her family, Hardeep Kaur adopted him and looked after him and raised him. By the time he reached his youth and was a very successful cricket player in London, I was approached by K. Jordan, who was the best friend of Hardeep Kaur, and I sold it. Now, Stephen Timms, waiting for anything, any number of years, 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever. I haven't got the papers in front of me, but he kept her waiting and he hadn't got a clue. And as K. Jordan put it, and I'm quoting K. Jordan, after I sold the case, I knew Mr. Haque will crack it. And I had cracked the case in 24 hours. How did I do that? I did that one exactly as I do all the other impossible cases that licensed law traders or members of parliament cannot do. I challenged Stephen Timms via his paid officials to answer a question. And I demanded that they answer the question within a matter of hours. And as soon as they answered the question, I hit them back with the facts. And I said, you've got it wrong. You have missed this, which is the evidence. And then I said, you get hold of the UK Home Office immediately, as a matter of hours, which they must have done. And the Home Office immediately contacted Hardeep Kaur, confirming the life of this nephew and confirming that he was legitimate and he was okay, he was allowed as a legitimate citizen. This itself is the subject of a deep, factual, world exclusive report by me. More about that in due course. In the election that is scheduled to be held on the 4th of July 2024, there is a list of 11 candidates standing for the newly named constituency of Bethnal Green and Stepney. The Bethnal Green Bow has been reorganized, renamed, because the Bow has been made a part of Stratford and Bow constituency by the Boundary Commission. On the list of the 11 candidates is a man called Azmal Masroor. Azmal Masroor is a paid agent against the culture that he feeds off. And a paid agent is also paraded as an imam. He doesn't appear anything like an imam, But this Azman Masroor is one of the independents standing at the election for Bethnal Green and Stepney. In the statement that he published sometime in April as a candidate, and I'll check that and update the month if I've got the month wrong. I cannot check it now while I'm doing this broadcast. In that statement, Masroor calls the constituency Bethnal Green and Bow. That doesn't exist anymore. So he can't even get the name of the constituency right. What chance that he will do anything right about the constituents in the theoretical position if he got in, which is very unlikely. Now, another candidate, not featured as an independent, but featured as a candidate for the Lib Dems, is called Rabina Khan. And Rabina Khan's description includes the claim that she was the chair of the housing brief under Lutfur Rahman. It doesn't mention Lutfur Rahman by name. Again, I shall check if the name is there, and I shall update if I miss the actual text there. But the reality is that Rabina Khan, while she was in post and was paid in the post as member of the Lutfur Rahman cabinet, so-called, at the expense of housing, she lied, she lied, she lied, and she lied. I shall be updating on the other candidates and other issues. Essentially, there is nothing in any of the statements ascribed to any of them that refers to the experiences of ordinary people in the communities. And the election that is going to be held is not an election, it's a stage. It's going to be staged as an election. And whether Keir Starmer is the incumbent as Prime Minister or somebody else will make no difference. The heading in today's Observer newspaper is absolutely obscene. It says, Starmer is saying he will, and I quote the bit of substance there, reignite the fire of optimism. What the fuck? There is no need to reignite the fire of optimism. The criminal has been lying and he has been dampening all optimism and he has been in denial of calls to end corruption, violations, violence, genocide, massacres, and the agenda for the massacres. The piece in the Sunday Times which I started with, Deputy Prime Minister's grave concerns that Russians are boosting Farage's reform. This is something that should have been known for years, because the agenda for Brexit, the actual narrative for Brexit was boosted and backed and coordinated internationally by the Russian Kremlin regime that Vladimir Putin was fronting in 2016. And both Farage and Boris Johnson are part of the operation by the Russians for Brexit. And the pretense shown by both Farage and Johnson that they are critical of one another is nothing but a pretense. Both are congenital liars, and both are actual traitors to the cause of objectively defined democracy and the rights of the ordinary people, both in Russia and in the United Kingdom and in the rest of Europe. Keir Starmer's alleged apology for getting it wrong about the Bangladeshis is something that I shall be devoting a long piece to. Starmer is a moron. Starmer has said he apologizes for making the false statement. He doesn't say false, but that is effectively what it is. We shall be talking about that and also bringing in references to Shamima Begum. Because when Sajid, the stupid Javed, mental slave, in post as Home Secretary, took away Shamima Begum's British by birth citizenship, he actually played along and supported the lie that Bangladesh should accept Shamima Begum and give her the Bangladeshi citizenship. Shamima Begum wasn't born in Bangladesh, and the fact that stupid Javed could even suggest that, or any of his propaganda allies could suggest that, shows the depth of idiocy, ignorance, and prejudice and stupidity that dominates the main discourse. We shall be talking about that and other issues in due course. This is 0722 GMT, and this video of the broadcast has been 37 minutes long, just over 37 minutes.